On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about Star Trek Discovery Episode 307, Unification III, as well as a few news bits. Right after these commercials from people that we are not sanctioning in any way.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast, the podcast where two lifelong friends do what they've been doing since they were 5 years old. Talk about Star Trek. Come on around the fireplace and listen in, folks.
Now it just sounds like we're two old men. Like,
yeah.
Come on in, sit by the rocking chair.
That's what I was going for. You know, we're
spin
old.
Some yarns about Trek of Yore.
Let's do it. And Trek of Yore and Trek of Nor? No, I don't know. Never mind.
I don't know.
I bail. You said you had some news, right? Some news? Is that what we're doing first?
Yeah, man.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. I like doing news the week it happens.
I mean, I don't know if that's when it happens.
Well, so it's probably when I'm hearing about it, so I'm down.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess the news broke today, December 1st. That's when we're recording, y'all. Deadline was talking to Noah Hawley, the showrunner for Fargo.
Yes.
And this is the guy who was wanting to direct. They were talking to him about directing a Star Trek movie, and they asked, is a Star Trek possibility still in the cards for you at the new Emma Watts run Paramount, or is that too on hold? And he says, it doesn't appear to be in my immediate future. I think when Emma came in, she took a look at the franchise and wanted to go in a different direction. But you know, life is long. We were very close to production, but in this business, that doesn't mean much. You got to get out of the gate to be in the race, if you know what I mean. So unfortunately, that looks like it's not going to happen. At least for a while.
That severely bums me out.
Yep. He wanted to do a new cast and crew and a new take on it. I get why that wouldn't be in the cards in any way.
Right. Well, I mean, new cast. Well, when you say new cast, new crew, are you mean like new cast and new crew as in totally different Star Trek?
I just heard new cast, new crew. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I think that should totally be in the cards personally, but yeah, man.
Well, do it as a miniseries, Kurtzman. Do it as a show, as another alternate universe show with Noah Hawley. Like, oh my God, we just finished Legion. Yeah, man, such a good show. I won't give you spoilers.
Yeah, please don't. I've seen bits and pieces of Legion. I've seen the first couple episodes. I absolutely loved Legion, but I'm working through Fargo right now. So we've both been watching these Noah Hawley shows, and I'm about to finish. I'm like 4 episodes from the end of this most recent season. It is so good. Both shows, everything I've seen from Noah Hawley, I am 100% on board, and he's exactly what Star Trek needs, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, and he does. He really does kitschy but timeless. Like, he does a lot of the retro looking stuff, which could really work well with Star Trek. But also he really imbues things with a timelessness that is also really perfect for Star Trek and perfect for anything, really. A lot of deep concepts, a lot of cool thoughts. I can't wait to watch Fargo. I still haven't watched that show. So,
oh man, now that you've seen, we'll have to swap. We'll have to do a Noah Hawley swap, and I'll come over to Legion next, and you can watch Fargo, and we can just be like, oh, just wait, man, just wait.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm planning on going to Fargo next. I love the Coen brothers too, so just knowing that Noah Hawley is involved with anything that they're doing, just.
Yeah, 100%. That's sad news. That really is. When you said there was news, I got excited, and now I feel nothing but sadness. Just a big pit of sadness inside me. Thanks.
It's going to be, bad news, good news, bad news.
Oh, okay. So get a little journey here, a little roller coaster of news.
Right.
I'm down. Let's do it. Let's ascend the hill. Click, 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 click.
Alrighty. So on November 23rd, Evan Evangora was doing a little interview with Pod Syndicate, And he said January is when they are filming. We had already heard from Jonathan Frakes back in September that they were planning on Star Trek Picard season 2. And Evan is Elnor, by the way. So we had already heard from Frakes that it was probably going to be January. Evan is saying, yes, January we will be filming. I don't know if they have posted that date. All I know is everyone's saying January. So we'll start season 2 there. And in my opinion, it cannot come quicker. So
they're starting filming in January?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a bummer. Mostly, I know that COVID put everything on hold, and especially you got a cast as elderly as that one. You can't rush into that production, but it's a bummer just because last year they aired in January. So I'm and it's a heavily special affected show, so it's going to take it a minute to finish. So that is a bummer. I'm excited that they're filming for sure, but that's also kind of a bummer. This was supposed to be the click, Dave. I was supposed to get click kicked it to the top.
You turned this into something less than joyful.
I did not. You just reminded me of the 2020 and COVID, and this is not great news. I mean, it's great. It's good. It's good. Get those seasons of Picard made.
Yeah, I mean, between September and now, it could have easily been delayed again. So far, it hasn't been delayed. That's good news.
That is good news. Good call. I'll try to pep it up. But see, here's the problem. I'm just trying to get lifted up, and you've already told me that we're going downhill on the terror-inducing slide that is this roller coaster of news. So go ahead, hit me with the third one.
Well, look, before we hit the third one, just know we loved the episode of Discovery. So that'll at least lift us up.
Oh, yes, please. Don't leave. If you feel like we're being negative, we're only sad that there's not more Star Trek. This episode of Discovery was primo Star Trek. Like, not even just primo Discovery, but primo Star Trek.
Right.
I had my issues, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I basically wept through the entire episode. So let's get the next one. hit me with the bad news. Thank you for that. That actually did lift my spirits. I don't know if it lifted the listeners' spirits, but it lifted mine.
Well, just us saying that we like Discovery that's enough to upset some. But man, November 21st, man. Sadly, Herbert F. Solow passed away, and he was 89. This is the guy who oversaw the development of the original Star Trek series. He was completely instrumental in the development of the show, in selling the show, in marketing the show. He worked with Roddenberry before Roddenberry even presented it to the networks. He helped refine the idea. According to him, he was part of the idea of keeping Spock's pointed ears, but getting rid of Spock's red skin and tail, because Roddenberry wanted him to look like a devil.
Yes. Which the show would have never made it to where it is if he looked like a devil. Like, I'm sorry, just like it was the 60s, but I don't know. Like, people were still too moralistic. Like, there's just no way that would have survived the crucible that is the like sort of Christian America. But I gotta say, that's kind of a bold stance. Like, one of the things I love about Star Trek is every time a new series comes around, almost every time a new series comes around, they get a crew member that was an enemy from the previous series. I love that little bit of, like, the Klingons, and then you got Worf, and then you got the Ferengi, and then Quark is there as like a main crew member, you know, and then you've got the Borg is a bad guy, and then you've got Seven of Nine. Like, you're always bringing in these crew members that are once enemies, now friends. It's nice to know that Roddenberry was on that idea early on. Sorry, that was a long walk for that joke. I apologize.
Yes, it was.
I'm sorry, but yes, this is very sad. This poor man. It sounds like he had a long and full life of good work, at least.
Yep.
And thank you. We salute you. We salute you.
Yep. He was credited as the executive in charge of production for the first 2 seasons of the original series. He did a ton of hiring for the show, including hiring key producer Robert Justman And now in 1996, and this is a crucial read, this is on my bookshelf, Solow and Justman wrote this book called Star Trek: The Real Story. You got to check that out. And he did a 3.5-hour interview with the Television Academy, and that's all on YouTube, and I'll post links to it in the show notes because that's super interesting. Rick Berman did one too, and it's pretty interesting, except it's disheartening how little he remembers the characters' names. Like like Berman just like keeps giving the wrong names for people, and like you're just like, dude, how did you do all this for all these years and not remember anyone's name?
Yeah, that is pretty disheartening. Honestly, a lot of these writers, they go on to write another show. I mean, Berman's not really. I don't know. Did he write the show much?
I don't think
More
so.
just produced it, I know.
He was a producer, and before that, he produced shit for the Discovery Channel and stuff. Like, sci-fi was not his bag. He just didn't ever care about it.
I could see why he would not care or know the character's name being a producer, but it's just sad because this show is so meaningful to so many people, and for the creators to just not care at all, even the executives, that's disappointing. And I think that era has ended. I think the era of like Kevin Feige and people like him. I want to name some DC guys. I know there's some DC guys up there, but I also know a lot of them embroiled in scandal. Can you give me a good one unscandalized?
Jim Lee.
There you go. Jim Lee. These type of guys. I just wanted to talk on both sides of the aisle here. These type of guys. Because I almost said one and I was like, no, I think he's in a scandal.
I would say Zack Snyder is a huge DC fan. Like, yeah. I didn't think so at first.
Well, I was trying to think on the executive level, I guess. But yes, absolutely.
Well, he's on the executive level now, buddy.
I hope so. I just think that now they're starting to put those executives, those geeks that love this stuff in those executive positions for all these different franchises, and I think that bodes well for the future because there's someone guiding the ship that understands why a creative would want to do a certain thing, and also might tell a creative, "Whoa, buddy." What are you doing to the universe we love, for a good reason, not for money or whatever.
It works both ways. Like you have someone like, Jeff Johns over at DC, who is a huge fanboy and is a walking encyclopedia for DC Comics, but also, what is a fan of a certain version, of fandom and a certain version of the franchise who is willing to destroy another creator's stuff because that's not how it should be done. So, and that causes things like the Theatrical Justice League. So,
right.
That can go both ways.
Yeah.
And some might argue that, Alex Kurtzman is a huge fan of TNG, not so much a fan of the original series, which is why the original series has kind of gotten a bit of a retcon to some degree.
Right. And things like that are going to continue to happen, especially as we drift. I think I've said it over and over. I don't want to harp on it too much, but just setting Discovery in the past was a bad call. It's just, especially if you've got a creator who doesn't care for that part of the history. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, yeah, when Brian Fuller left, and Brian Fuller has said he wanted to make the show properly set as a prequel. He wanted to look like it was before the original series properly. Mm-hmm. And those plans got scuttled and he left the show. So,
right.
Or he was fired or whatever happened. And
yeah,
I'd love to find out one day.
I'm sure there will be some fan documentary one day that exposes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we did Ham talk about this episode yet? Do we got any more news that you wanted to touch on?
No, that's it. That's everything. I've touched on all the news.
Many salutes to Herbert Solow. Thank you for all you did on that show. And let's get into this, an episode that I think does great work in paying homage to Trek of the past and touches so many different points in Trek. And I just absolutely effing loved it. You want to hit this with that synopsis?
Yeah, man. While grappling with the fallout of her recent actions and what her future might hold, Burnham agrees to represent the Federation in an intense debate about the release of politically sensitive but highly valuable burn data.
Yeah. Gotta get that to call in Ket going, you know? That's what I'm always saying. You gotta get them to call in Kets.
Right. I've heard you say that many times.
Yeah, for sure. I thought the first 3/4 of this episode were some of the best Star Trek. Like, again, this season just keeps upping the stakes and upping the quality level. I think we've brought this up before, but there's that 2009 Wonderful Onion article.
Yes.
When 2009 Star Trek came out, where they said, Star Trek fans upset that 2009 Star Trek doesn't include enough long, laborious boardroom discussions.
Yeah.
This episode is exactly that. And I freaking love it. Like, when they said we're going to sit in a circle and try to get down to a core truth, I was like, please do that for 45 minutes. Just stare into each other's eyes and have like a meaningful discussion. That's what my heart needs right now. And like, in this world we live in, like there's a lot being said here about like that yearning for truth. And it just really, I was so pumped for the first 3/4 of this episode. And I still loved it. My one quibble is I don't feel like they got to the truth of anything. It's they got to the truth of Burnham. They were like, we're going to get to the truth. And they said that, that her mother, who is a Kowalma lot. I mean, come on.
Right. That was cool.
That was so cool. So cool. This had canon from original series, canon from TNG, direct connections to Picard. Like, I just, chef's kiss. Love it. But her mother said that a common tactic to Colin Ket is to undercut the speaker, get rid of their credibility. But that's all they did. That's really all this was them trying to prove herself, which was great. It was classic Star Trek maneuvering where she does that gong and says, I will not let the peace of Navarre be another casualty of the burn, and walks out. And I was like, that's beautiful. And that got her the data. It was just a great ending. But I really wanted to see the actual discussion of the burn. Like, I wanted to see them actually have like, okay, but that's not necessarily true. Let's talk about what actual truth is. I wanted to see those layers. I felt like they were trying to make a point about what's going on in our current world, which Star Trek often does, where we don't have... We're having a hard time agreeing on the same set of facts. Yeah. And I wanted them to give me a like actual roadmap. Like, I wanted them to like do the work that sci-fi often does, where you give me a roadmap for how do you find truth? How do you take 3 factions that believe in different facts and bring them together? How do you find a truth that they can build from? Like, do that work. And they didn't. They just kind of argued about Burnham's motives, and then she proved her motives and got the data. You know what I mean?
I feel like whether she was the one that was kind of on trial here, and I feel like that was the important part of the episode. That was the important part of the trial. And they
from a character perspective, I totally agree.
And they had an audience around. I'm sure whatever that data was, it was classified. They're not going to have a bunch of people sitting around watching and probably recording, because as we've learned from Star Trek, there's always a recorder.
As we saw in this episode.
Absolutely.
Very much. It's from Picard's files. Picard was clearly recording at that moment when Spock was telling him that very private discussion.
We'll talk about that in a little bit in the fan feedback.
Okay.
But, yeah, man, I think they did what they had to do. If they were going to discuss it openly, she wouldn't have had to request the data in the first place. Like, why would they discuss it with her? They hadn't even decided whether or not they trusted her. And it wasn't until she did her thing and walked out that they did trust her.
Right.
And also, they weren't even the deciding factor anyway. The president was. Like, clearly that, like, quorum was just, they were a snake eating its own tail.
I agree with you, but that's all decisions they made after that's decisions they make in the moment to make those characters that way. I would have liked to seen what actual trying to perform an actual to Colin Kett looks like, which I just, I felt like this was all, it was all the tactic of undercutting Burnham's credibility and none of the actual trying to get to the bottom of the sphere, not the sphere data, the data.
Yeah, which I don't think they should have been doing anyway. It was like, they didn't want to do this anyway. They were there to, like, she was the one on trial. She was the one that called the trial.
Right. But that's not, she shouldn't have been on, I get that that's part of the process. She said it's a common tactic, but that wasn't supposed to be the entirety of the thing. When they talked about the Colin Kett in the first moments of the episode, I was like, this is amazing. This is like amazing science fiction touching our world. They're going to try to give us a framework, just like Spock gave us a framework for like discussing, like moving past our emotions and dealing with things with logic, or, whatever. These science fiction fantasy characters give us frameworks to think about our world. And I was looking forward to them really tackling that. And that may be on me. That I was, it's a lot to ask, and it's a high bar to ask them to even try something like that. But I was just a little disappointed because I felt like I was promised it and then I didn't get it. But all that being said, I freaking love this episode.
Yeah,
everything they do is awesome. I'm a little disappointed at what they didn't do, but everything they do is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like if they had done everything you wanted them to do, there wouldn't be much of a season left.
Well, no, it would have just been the same ending. They would have just gotten the data, but it could have been through. I don't even know that they needed to resolve the issue. I just would have liked to see what a Colin Kett is supposed to look like. I felt like all we had was courtroom squabbling that is the same exact kind of courtroom squabbling that is happening today. You know what I mean? Like everyone arguing over their different facts and people trying to prove that their side is better because they have better intent.
Well, yeah.
And I just wanted something. I was hoping that Navarre would save us, I guess. And I I was hoping that Vulcan could lead the way and show us what logic looks like in the face of such a bifurcated set of facts. Trifurcated, quadfurcated, whatever. But anyway, what was there was awesome. And I am a big believer in finding your own personal truth and looking inside yourself and understanding what's going on inside yourself and trying to learn to be honest about that with those around you. And I loved that her mother did not help her, that she actually stood before her. And this to Colin Kett was very important to Burnham, and her admitting that she's scared that she's going to kill everyone, you know?
Yeah.
She did all this, and then she's just very worried that she'll destroy everything she loves after coming so far. That was a big moment for the series and big moment for her as a character. Loved that. Loved all that.
I did too. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was adequately presented. I was more than adequately presented, honestly. You know, there is a little bit of, there's a bit of annoyance on my part from, you know, just oh, hey, Burnham's mom is there. Okay. But, you know.
Well, you imagine she lands, she'll go somewhere she knows or something. And she knows her daughter was raised there. Maybe she went there to seek out information about her daughter that she never got to know.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, she did mention why she was there, and I don't remember what it was now.
Right. But then she found the Qowat Milat, and that led to her, you know, sort of finding purpose. And that makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely convenient. In all the galaxy, you bump into your mom after a few weeks, or she's been a year and a half, or like a year and more, and some change.
Yeah. It just, you know, again, feels like a little bit of like, okay, all right. But that's, you know, that's on all the shows. So.
Yeah. Narrative often requires coincidence. Even well-written narrative sometimes requires coincidence, and it doesn't really bother me. And even if she's somewhere on that planet, if she hears her daughter is close, even if she had been somewhere in that system or whatever, if she hears her daughter's coming, she probably would have come, So it makes sense that, and they even said they're going to broadcast it, headline, Burnham is coming. So like, she isn't anywhere near Vulcan. She's probably going to be there. Mm-hmm. To surprise her daughter on the transporter pad in the most dramatic way possible with the hood reveal. I mean, that's just what mothers do.
Yeah.
I actually felt like their reunion was a little underwhelming. I guess I have some holes in my memory of how I know they interacted in season 2 when she was the Red Angel for a minute or two, or like she had a conversation with her in one of the episodes. I don't remember how they left things, I guess. So it's like weird to me that they weren't more like Burnham wasn't more surprised and she wasn't more surprised to see Burnham. I don't remember if her mom knew that she was coming back to the future. Mm-hmm. Like I don't remember that. It's clear that she knew her mom was going to be here. So her mom just didn't seem surprised at all to see her.
Yeah, I did look at it. It looks like she tells Burnham she never made it back to Terra Elysium. She wound up on SOF 4 and then was held there. And then colonists delivered her to the Qowat Milat, who healed her.
Ah, gotcha. What if they find nobody landed on Terra Elysium? Nobody did that. What if that's the location of the burn? It's all their fault. Probably is. Yeah. Probably all their fault.
Sure. Why not?
It's the kind of twist ending we like these days. Or at least we did 10 years ago, so they keep giving them to us. Sorry.
Like that old, it just reminded me of that old, because I almost said it. I came so close. You said, it's from the old Everybody Loves Cletus bit or whatever. Or no, Everybody Loves Flanders bit on The Simpsons. You're like, everybody loves that kind of ending these days, and then just cut to Homer going, not me.
It's okay. You could have just quoted The Simpsons at me. That's how you function. You function mostly in quotes.
Not mostly, but largely.
It's a portion. It's large, pretty large portion.
It's a sizable chunk.
Size of my chunk. Oh gosh, I'm rough today. I just said size of all.
Hey, look, I went to the bathroom before we started the show. This is how rough I am.
Okay.
I went to the bathroom before we did the show, and put the water on. Pick up my deodorant, take the cap off, and rub probably 4 times on my hand before I go, that's not soap.
Oh gosh. That's rough, man. That is rough. Yeah. Yep. You might want to look into that. It's like neurological disorder. I'll search deodorant as soap on WebMD. Yeah, no results. You've got a even stranger disease than WebMD knows about.
And now that I've destroyed my credibility, let's continue talking about this show that half of Star Trek fans apparently hate.
Oh yeah. Okay. What else you got in this one? I feel like we covered. I mean, what's Tilly? We hadn't touched on Tilly at all. She's first officer now.
Yeah, and I don't mind.
I don't either. I think she's proven herself.
I think she's absolutely proven herself. I think she has been, as Saru said, more stable, more capable than the rest of the senior officers on the ship.
Yeah.
Burnham was the obvious choice to go to, but now, I think Tilly's the next one to hit up. And it doesn't bother me at all. A lot of fans are pissed off about that. And I can talk a little bit more about why it makes sense from a rank point of view.
Sure, I think the only thing
feedback section.
The only thing you got to say here is like she's just following Pike's rule. You just take whatever officer you think on the ship and drop him into the captain's chair as soon as you can.
Look, I'll talk about it now. Look, okay,
go
so
for it,
like,
for it.
okay, executive officer is not just for commanders, okay, and this has been across the board, going way back, okay. Like you can find there's a whole list. Memory Alpha has a whole list of first officers, and the first one they name was not even technically a part of Starfleet. Sub Commander T'Pol on Enterprise. All right,
yes, that's true.
You can go to Voyager, Lieutenant Maxwell Burke from the Equinox.
Right.
Lieutenant Commander Cavett from Voyager. Lieutenant Commander Data was was the first officer of the Enterprise D while Riker was away. Lieutenant Decane on the USS Relativity in the 29th century. Lieutenant Commander Hobson on the Sutherland. Like, Kira Nerys was the first officer of Deep Space Nine. Lieutenant Commander Worf was the first officer of the Defiant. You don't have to be a straight up commander.
Sure, you don't have to be a commander. It is. It's a little weird that she's an ensign. Like,
yeah, but it's also a little weird that a 23rd century crew who lost most of their crew made it to the 32nd century.
Agreed. I get why people are a little annoyed. I do.
Well, they're annoyed because they don't like Tilly.
Oh well, I love Tilly. She's the fucking best.
I love Tilly. She's great.
Yeah, I love it. But that's not my problem. I get why someone would be annoyed. Like, someone conceivably would be annoyed that an ensign became first officer.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I do think that it, like, they've been on this ship for 3 years and haven't really had much time to go to like training school. She hasn't had much time to go to the command program, but she's had more executive experience than most. So
yeah, and then Tom Nellis, lieutenant on the Antares, was a first officer. There are lots of lieutenants and lieutenant commanders who have been first officers.
I have no idea how the distance between ensign and lieutenant. I don't know I know nothing about ranks.
Well, that's the thing is, like, a lot of the people who, it's okay to be ignorant. Ignorant is not necessarily a bad word. All right. It's okay to be annoyed by it just because, dude, it's Star Trek. There's like 50 years of it. You're not going to remember everything. That's okay. I had to look it up. I thought I remembered some who weren't commanders, but I had to look it up. And lo and behold, hell, there's some that weren't even in Starfleet proper. But, then I see like a lot of people who were
I do remember when those particular ones, Nerys and T'Pol, that was a big deal. It wasn't like that was regular operating procedure. But anyway, me and you, neither of us have a problem with this. I don't care what people on the internet think.
Yeah, no,
this is our show.
A lot of exactly. And honestly, a lot of what I'm seeing are people who are like members of current military outfits who want to start bringing up like military would never do blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. Like, there's no reason that a military 200 to 1200 years from now should have anything to do or be held to any standards of our current military of the United States. Like, you're just being stupid. And also, this is a TV show. Like, get the hell over it. But I think a lot of these people just don't like Tilly. And based on some of their other comments, a lot of these people don't like Tilly because she is an overweight woman. And I don't see anybody saying that Scotty can't be a freaking commander or a first officer or whatever.
Chief engineer.
So,
I hear you. I don't want to be the guy who says that all people who have that problem with this.
No, I didn't say it. I didn't say all.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's hard. It's hard to quantify. Like, I have that problem. Whenever I have a problem, it's just the same people who say that everyone that doesn't like Captain Janeway doesn't like her because she's a woman.
Right.
That have nothing to do with why I don't like her.
Which, by the way, first officer of Voyager, Commander Chakotay, he wasn't even Starfleet. Dude was the captain of a Maquis vessel.
Again, it was controversial. It was a controversial choice, though. And he was also like,
Yeah, no, they were representing the Maquis members of the crew.
And he's like basically the captain of their vessel. So like, and it's kind of the same thing with Nerys. She was higher up in the in the Resistance, and same thing with T'Pol. She's a, higher ranking science officer or whatever. Like none of these people are ensigns. So like it is an unprecedented move, except for Pike in 2009 Star Trek.
Yeah, I'll be honest though, like the Tilly thing was obvious as hell. Like looking back at the episodes leading up to it, wow, we should have both figured this was happening because. Right. Tilly has been like the voice of reason.
Oh, I thought we did. I think we discussed this in the first episode. Didn't we discuss that? Did we? Yeah, I think we did, because when she's his like conciliary on that first mission or the second episode, I was like, oh, it looks like she's like gonna be in command soon, or like she's gonna be and she's been taking command classes since like season 1.
Yeah.
I think that if they were gonna do this, there could have been a better way to handle this. They could have made her a lieutenant, like in season 2. Like they could have let her complete a couple of those online training courses or whatever, and like she could have gone to Phoenix University or whatever and like gotten her lieutenant certificate, and then this wouldn't have been such a issue. There's certain things you can do in a show if you plan it well, where like it's a throwaway line in season 2 that justifies something you're going to do in season 3. Or even you're looking at the next 8 episodes and you go, all right, while they're doing the refit and that those 3 weeks or 4 weeks while they're doing the refit, she finishes her like lieutenant commander exam.
Right.
And man, I didn't even know you got lieutenant, Tilly. Well, I haven't really been talking to people about it, whatever. I don't know, like whatever. So they could have done this a little smoother and avoided some of the backlash, is all I'm saying.
They weren't going to avoid backlash on this because of mainly the most of the people who dislike this now or dislike her.
I hear you. You're going to get some of that, but again,
I thought they hung the lantern well.
By saying that, you're basically saying that by saying they're not going to avoid the backlash, you are basically saying all people only don't like this because
I said some of the people, but they are not going to avoid the backlash.
They could have avoided a large amount of the backlash. I said some of the backlash, and then you said no, they're not going to avoid the backlash. Anyway, let's not even talk about this shit. We don't care. Let's stop arguing with people online that we are not us, that we don't care about. I don't care what those people think.
Okay. I mean, I was going to initially wait until the fan feedback.
Right. Someone else
people who listen to us have a problem with it.
Well, I'm sorry, guys.
But that's fine.
We should have waited till the feedback. I'm sorry. I told you. I know, and I told you to go for it. That's fine. My bad.
Then I get my head bitten off because we don't care what the listeners think.
And let me say, whoever that is, I was defending you. I was at least saying it wasn't because you thought Tilly's an overweight woman.
I'm not saying that was our listeners. I'm just saying we've seen a lot of that, or I've seen a lot of that.
Of course it happens. Of course it is over exaggerated by that. But like so you see that coming, and you take out the larger chunks of people who that isn't their motivation, and then you kind of narrow down that focus, and then it is just a small group of people screaming. Is my point.
Oh yeah, but that also just describes Star Trek fans.
I just think they did it a little sloppily. I still like it. I still think she deserves it. I still think it's great.
I didn't think they did it sloppily. They hung the lanterns. Everyone said, it's weird, but we support you because you're the best person for the job. We're all emotionally wrecked.
Right. And there is some precedence in Kirk, and this, like, she's Captain Killy on the other side too. Like, we already know that she has this in her, and like Kirk was the youngest starship captain, right? Wasn't he? Isn't that right?
For a long time. Yes.
Yeah. And like, so you see that happening, and maybe he had a similar rise to quick ascension, because people saw something in him, and that could be the same thing that's going on with her.
Yeah.
Man, what if she's captain next season? We keep talking about how they've had a different captain every season.
I think it would be interesting if Saru wound up leaving, and I get the feeling that they have set it up.
I feel that way too. Clearly, by making her first officer.
No, actually, because of, maybe, but he seemed to get along very well with the president of Navarre, and said he would like to continue their talks.
Oh, I didn't see that as a what you see that as a him
President
being
Torino.
Do you think what are you saying? What are you insinuating?
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm saying they clearly had chemistry, and it feels or felt to me at the time that they were setting up something romantic, possibly.
Interesting. I did not see that at all. I just saw that he's reaching out and trying to reconnect the Federation. See, so this is Unification 3, right?
Yeah.
And you've got Unification 1 and 2, which is about bringing the Romulans and Vulcans together. This is Unification 3, and to me, this one is about bringing the Vulcans back to the Federation. Yeah. And a lot of the action of this episode is Saru. Burnham is the action proving Starfleet's value and proving their motives. But Saru he's that back channel guy. He's trying to connect with her and say, I didn't see that as a romantic thing at all, but that's very interesting.
It seemed like there was something there. I might be wrong. I might be reading into it, but it would fit into your theory that they're just trying to get rid of all the people who it costs a lot of money to make up.
So dumb. It's like I was just listening to someone talk about Star Wars and how one of their favorite things about Star Wars is just the aliens are always so interesting and wild and out there, And I was just thinking, it made me think about Discovery, and it's like, yeah, you can't really say that so much about Star Trek right now. It's always been a little more like aliens with bumps on their heads, and then blobs, blobs that don't have to have any kind of emotive ability. But yeah, this is really funny, the way they've been treating Discovery lately, and Saru leaving would be perfect. I would hate it because I love Saru.
Yeah, likewise.
I hope if he's gone, he stays in a prominent role.
Yeah.
I really liked the scene between Burnham and her mother about when she says, one thing I've been waiting to tell you for a long time. You always know where to find me. Yep,
that was great.
Really, really touching.
Mm-hmm.
And another, a lot of touching moments at the end of this episode. The say yes moment was fun. Say yes, and then, but more than that, I really liked. Did I miss the cool say yes part? and then she asked, "Are you leaving?" And she said, "Nope, I'm here for the duration."
Yep.
And it sounds like once she acknowledged why she feels not at home, which is her fear. She's decided, I'm not going to give in to that fear. I'm going to be here and do my job because that's just fear,
Yep.
And then, of course, she told good old Book that he feels like home. Lots of loving happening in this episode.
Actually, I think didn't he say that to her?
Oh, yes. I think he said that. And then she said, you do too, or something like that.
Yeah. And you know what it just made me think of? Remember that Jewel video, You Were Meant for Me? Where she's got it
meant for you.
Yeah, I know. There's that scene where on her back is written, he says, I feel like home to him.
Oh, funny. No, I didn't. I don't recall that. As a very specific reference.
Very coincidentally, they just released the HD remastering of that video this week.
Oh, funny. That is weird.
So, but yeah. I don't know. That was just a funny little thing. I was just like, Jewel. But yeah, the thing that got me the most this week was the unification scene, like the replay of Spock's speech.
Yeah, her connecting with her brother over the centuries to try to complete his mission, really, or like to see what he did with his life. I love the overachiever conversation. Or like you guys, he says, my brother told me I take on too many responsibilities, and then he's like, it sounds like I would have liked your brother. And I don't know why I made Book sound like old Greg, but whatever.
Yeah,
we'll move on. Has your brother ever drank Bailey's out of shoe?
Do you love me, Michael Burnham? I have all things that are good.
I want to scream mangina, but I won't. I'll move back. We'll go back to the show.
You saw my downstairs mix up. What did that mean to you? Doesn't mean you love me.
In the context of Book and Burnham, that's the weirdest shit. That's weird. That's weirder than the boat scene in the actual old Greg. Okay.
Are you playing your love games? Sorry.
Okay. I don't know what else. Oh yeah. So he's talking about the how he takes on too much responsibility. It sounds like Laura liked him, and then he says something to the effect of like, she tells him what her brother did with unifying Romulus and Vulcan, and says, "You guys are overachievers. Your family is overachievers." It's really good.
Yep, it is good.
Like, you saved the universe. Your brother brought together species and also saved the universe on multiple occasions.
Now, I feel like there was a lost opportunity in this episode, and that lost opportunity is this. when they said that that Spock's sister was there, I really wanted the Vulcans and the Romulans to angrily recoil for a while and just be like, "We've never heard of a sister."
Right. Just another like call out to the fans that refuse to acknowledge that it's reasonable that he might have a sister we don't know about. Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, that's funny. Okay, you want to get into feedback?
Absolutely, we can do that.
Let's do it.
We've already gotten into it a little bit.
Yes, we have. Unbeknownst to me.
I know. I mean, I told you. Little Trank says, "I'm only halfway through the episode, but I have a nitpick. I know this is a TV trope, but how does Admiral Picard have a holo recording of Spock speaking to him in a cave on Romulus while on a covert mission? A holo recording that is straight up a clip from Unification Part 2. All right, so I do want to point out that the computer said the coordinates were redacted, so we don't know where it was. Classified personal files of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, but now, correct me if I'm wrong, I did go back and look at this episode. Unification 2 does not show this entire speech. It shows bits of it, and it's not in a cave. It's actually at the restaurant that's in the Romulan Bazaar.
Oh. That is much more reasonable to the video there.
Mm-hmm. But it also cuts out stuff from Picard's part of the conversation and adds stuff that wasn't there that I didn't immediately recognize, okay? So I'm assuming some of this was from deleted footage, maybe even an alternate take.
That's very cool that we got to see that, but kind of weird from a canon perspective.
Well, some of it may have even wound up on some of the extended Blu-rays that Next Generation does, because they have extended episodes. But I would personally pause it because it did seem different the way he said the parts of the speech that I recognized. Okay. And here's my personal headcanon, and it makes sense. I think Spock, he was a diplomat. He was starting a movement. He had crafted arguments that he had committed to memory, pieces of persuasive speech patterned together that he would often use. I think Picard may have been present at a separate time when he made a similar speech, or, they may have wound up getting security footage from that Romulan marketplace. Right. And,
Picard
just some
had
of it was cut off.
A recording device on him of some sort. I mean,
we've got cell phones on us. Why can't they have,
comm badges could record stuff? Not that that would fix a lot of these type of canon problems if comm badges recorded, like these types of things. So
either way, I'm not bothered by it.
I'm not bothered by it either. And here's another headcanon for you if you really want to fix it. And it dilutes it a little bit, but it could have been a holonovel that was explaining what happened. It could have been the holonovel of Unification Part 2 or whatever, this could be or not even a holonovel. That makes it sound, could have been a recreation or like a documentary that they did where they recreate classic speeches from whatever historical figures or something. And this is the way we remember Spock. And this is historical document of what Spock said on Romulus.
Yeah, but definitely a lot of some of the stuff that we see Spock saying in that scene, they had cut to Picard, and it even sounded a little different. I think it was an alternate take, or maybe a couple of different alternate takes from different parts of the episode stitched together.
Yeah, definitely possible.
And I think I've done it myself. I've committed certain arguments that I have to memory, telling different people, especially like being a DC fan, you start getting into arguments and you have the same argument over and over again. And I know you do it because I've heard you do it.
Oh, me? No.
Yeah.
Everything I say is fresh thought because I have no memory.
That's not true, though.
I mean, it might go down the same path. I'm like Memento.
Yeah. All right.
That was his name, right? Johnny Memento.
I don't know his name.
Let's hit that next feedback.
Okay, Stu Little.
Hey, Stu.
He says, loved this episode, minus the ludicrousness of Tilly becoming the anti-Harry Kim with her promotion. As stated, we don't think it's ludicrous. Inspired.
It is unprecedented. It is strange. But as you said, they did put a lantern on it. I understand why some people would be up in arms about it, but I personally don't really, I just don't really care. They've been through a whole lot in the last 3 years, and the fact that Tilly has some experience under her belt gives her a lot of credibility as moving towards command.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he said, this episode inspired a question with the reveal that Navarre left the Federation. If there was a Picard-era Federation civil war, which planets would lead the turn against the Federation? And how do you think Starfleet would deal with its officers who came from those planets? Well, we can look at Next Generation for that to some degree, and how Picard dealt with Worf when there was a Klingon civil war, and certain factions of the Klingon Empire was against the Federation. And we've had Klingon crew members or different crew members of alien origin their species weren't a part of the Federation. I think they would say, look, if you want to go do this thing, that's fine. It's up to them to resign their commission. But I don't think they profile them in the Federation or anything. I think they just go, okay, well, we good here? Cool.
Right. Right. I just to try to give Stu Little some real just a definitive answer. I don't know that many of the races that are in the Federation. Can you just name the races and I'll say which side they'd be on? Okay, let's say pro-Earth and anti-Earth. Earth has done something horrible, and who's going to stand with Earth and who's going to vote to destroy it? Mm-hmm. So name Federation races. Help me out here.
Okay. Well, first of all.
Okay.
Before we get into that, Stu's question is a little weird for me because I'm saying, okay, a Federation civil war, which planets would lead the turn against the Federation? So what's the reasoning? Also, if the Federation is turning against the Federation, then who are we talking about? Like, history. That's the whole point of the Civil War is the Federation would split into two parts.
History is defined by the victors. We say now the Confederacy revolted and fought America and fought against America. That's like how we talk about it now. So he's talking in language that is commonly accepted for sort of the Civil War terms. It's just, I agree with you. It's hard to decide. I was just trying to play a fun game where I was just going to say which species I trusted and which I didn't. But
that's more of an insurrection versus a civil war. I would say,
I mean, we call it a civil war.
Well, or a civil war in its infancy.
It depends on how big it is or whatever. Some people have said.
That's the point.
Some people have said the guns on the street right now in America, where people are shooting each other over red-blue stuff, is is literally already started a civil war. Like a civil war has begun and it's already in its infancy.
Yeah, people speak in hyperbole all the time, but yeah. We're not divided into two factions.
Yeah. So if there's two factions, name a reason. I was just trying to throw one out. Name a reason.
I think when you ask which planets it would be, it is heavily dependent on the reason, which is why it's so interesting the Vulcans left.
Yeah,
the Federation and the Romulans wanted to stay.
Totally, they left for a totally reasonable reason too. If they believe what they believed, they left for absolutely a reason the Vulcans would have left. And I loved that. I loved that I kind of agree with the Vulcans in a way that like they don't trust that Starfleet was not going to take up a project. And I could totally see Starfleet taking up a project that they have some, even if it's erroneous, some evidence that, it has not yet been disproven that the burn was caused by this flight. So, but do we want to play with Stu's question? Like, just actually try to answer it, just like for fun. Well, I know we can't. Like, we could talk for a whole episode about it.
I mean, sure. I mean, I would say in any era, and we don't know really Picard era who's even a part of this. Yeah, that's my problem.
That's why I said you yell Federation planets at me, because I don't.
It's Picard era. We don't know,
right? I don't even know who's in the Federation in the TNG era. Vulcans, Andorians.
Tellarites, I would assume.
Tellarites,
humans. If it's the same people we know from the 24th century, I'm going to say the Andorians are going to be the first. I mean, looking at the knee-jerk reactionaries, the Tellarites or the Andorians would be the ones.
See, the problem with this too is like we're literally by just naming like without good reason. Was going to be my joke, is that I was just going to be like, yeah, Andorians, I don't trust them. I was going to play the racist.
I'm sorry,
Star Trek racist, but you didn't play my game. You didn't play mine or Stu's game.
Far too interested in having an honest discussion rather than teeing up some lame one-liner.
Wait, hey, all I am is more lame one-liners, sir. I take great offense to you disparaging lame one-liners.
That's fine. You take offense, I take a door. Waka waka.
All right. I'm sorry, Stu. It is a very hard question to ask without more context. I would happily entertain, but that's the thing, is like, it's a story. So you'd have to write the context of why the split is happening. Like in this particular scenario, the Vulcans leave because of this information they want to keep from the Federation.
Right.
That's a specific reason, makes sense, gives them context for leaving. But without knowing any context, it's hard to name without being just baldly, jokingly racist, which is what I was going to do. So let's jump into the next feedback. Let us know if you have more Civil War information. I would happily entertain such a discussion.
Lil Trank again says, finally finished the episode. It was nice to see Spock's work come to fruition. Do you think the destruction of Romulus and the failure of the Federation to save more Romulans added to the mistrust Navarre has had with the Federation?
Absolutely. I think that the fact that, we see in 2009 Star Trek, Spock and even Picard and Picard and his crew are trying so hard for unification, and they're trying, it seems like, but there's such a splinter faction of the Federation working toward unification and really trying to help the Romulans. In that comic series, we see Picard like working hard to save as many Romulans as he can, and it seems like if I were the Romulans and then I did unify, and then that those generational wounds from the Federation not helping my people when they were in their most need, I absolutely think that's a good call. Yeah,
I don't think it helped, but again. It was the Vulcans who left, not the Romulans. The Romulans wanted to stay with the Federation. So
it was Navarre, though.
Yeah, but it's
Did the Romulans? Did they say that? I don't recall that. The Romulans said they wanted to stay.
Yeah, we just talked about it like 2 seconds ago. But yeah,
I don't remember that.
They did, because they were like, "Oh yeah, the Romulans are that way," and then they were like, "Oh no, it was the Vulcans who decided to leave. The Romulans wanted to stay with the Federation."
Oh, interesting. No, I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe not so much. Never mind.
Just waiting for your turn to talk.
No, I wasn't. I just don't remember. I don't remember that in the episode, and I don't remember you saying it just now.
He also says, also seems like all of the old school planets hate the Federation, which is fine. I think that story is interesting, but I think I'm ready for the Federation to earn back some respect. hopefully Saru and company will do that. Well, I think it's interesting because, Discovery pretty much came about during modern day, and I think there's a lot of allegory to be considered here with the way the Federation is being portrayed, as always has been with Star Trek. So I hope America can earn back some respect too. I mean, the Federation can earn back some respect too.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Any other feedback?
Nah, I think that's it. I think we're good.
Well, thank you, Stu and Little Trank, for that.
I forgot to mention. Man, I loved that they mentioned that. I think it was Admiral Vance mentioned in this episode that the Romulans and the Vulcans being related had become sort
lost
of rare
to history.
information. Yeah, lost to history in their timeline.
Yeah.
Because that is absolutely the case. It wasn't until, Balance of Terror in the original series that they were like, what? Holy shit, you guys look the same.
Yep. I loved that little piece of canon. That was really nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, I loved this. Loved this episode so much. I really, really did.
It was a good episode.
I like joked that I weeped through the whole thing, but it wasn't a joke. I really did. I was so excited for such deep connection and canon in this episode that it really made me smile and cry a little bit. I just really had a tear in my eye watching really good, classic Star Trek things, Yeah. I loved it. I loved it.
Mate, can I ask you a question?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm going to.
We've been friends long enough for me to disregard.
Yeah, I know. Let me ask you this. Now, I know you're not much on the aesthetic continuity,
right?
But the Discovery does not say Discovery A in Calypso.
In Calypso. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Here's another thing. We were talking about this last week. And
by the way,
I was thinking
I'm not that much into. I don't care that much. I can get past it. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I got really, really annoyed when they did that fucking cartoon and they put the A on the wrong ship. That really bothered me a lot.
By the way, yeah, like I was about to say, I've been thinking about that from last week when we were talking about.
Yeah. See, to me,
whether or not
let me just clarify something. To me, that's not visual canon. You are stating this happens after that. If you say this is A and this is 1701, no bloody A, no bloody B, then you are you are stating this is that era ship and this is not that era ship. So a mistake like that, while I can get past it, annoys me more than the shape of a ship or the strut or whatever. Because the ship can change shapes over time, different time periods, different refits. But you saying this is this ship that arrived here and it couldn't possibly, that annoys the crap out of me.
Yeah. But last week you had mentioned wanting to know if they were just refitting it, why would it be the A?
Yeah.
And I thought about it and then I saw other people kind of posit the same thing and that was cool. That means I'm not an idiot completely. The Discovery was destroyed according to the historical records. Time travel is illegal in the 32nd century, so they probably just called it the A so that people wouldn't be like, "What the hell is this shit?"
Interesting theory. I like that headcanon a lot.
It's a way to keep the Federation, in good graces legally.
Yeah, I dig it. Also, what are laws? I know at this point,
but they have said it's illegal on the show.
Right. Well, I think they said it was against treaties. I don't know if they said illegal, which
that's illegal.
Right. I mean, yes and no.
It's illegal. Romulan ale is illegal.
Is that? I don't think that's because of a treaty. That's because the Romulan ale F's you up, and the Federation doesn't want their crew members doing it. Right.
They never said.
I don't know. I just always thought that was. Hey, I don't think that's necessarily a result of a treaty, but yeah. Anyway, that's all neither here nor there. Yeah, that's a great headcanon. I like it a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, I am very curious because they've gone out of their way to reference Calypso in this season, but we're also faced with the fact that in Calypso, Discovery did not say Discovery A on it. It just said Discovery, and it did not appear to be refit the way it is now. So what does that mean? Does it mean anything?
Probably not. And that's the sad thing. Probably not. It probably means they didn't know what they were going to do this season, so they made that episode the way they made that episode. And now, if they, and it be all being streaming now, I wouldn't put it past them to throw a bloody A on there. Of course, it would have to also see that's the problem. They couldn't like reveal the fact that they were going to do these like separated nacelles and all this stuff that early. I mean, I guess they could have.
They didn't know.
Well, exactly. That's my point.
But there's no reason they can't like figure out a way to make it work now. Sure.
Maybe they have to go back on certain refit things because they need to like pretend to be the original or whatever, Also, the sphere data needs time to evolve too.
Yeah.
Like that was another thing. So maybe, just like we've talked about in the past, maybe the Discovery ends up back in a different time period. Maybe they go to Picard's time. Maybe they go to whatever.
There's room to screw around. I mean, the lettering is easily changed. They changed it to say ISS Enterprise and
maybe
whatnot.
Burnham's mother, they have to take away the future tech to protect the timeline, but they have to send Discovery back to Picard times because Elnor needs Burnham's mother or whatever.
Maybe.
Could be.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Dave.
Do you?
I do. I really do.
Why do you say that?
I just really enjoy.
That's a weird thing to say to me.
I really enjoy our conversations. I miss you. I miss seeing you more. COVID has sucked. If you ever want to go on a long walk out, go on a hike on the outdoors, let me know. COVID responsible. We should do that again sometime soon. And just appreciate the podcast. I always like seeing you here, and thanks for doing it. But I do need to go and get all this merch organized. By the way, I should mention that I am so excited about these shirts. I am so freaking excited. I got these new shirts for the Garage, the band that you guys, if you follow along with this podcast, you've seen me putting those songs out. The songs are coming out very soon. The final album versions of these songs will be out probably in the next 6 weeks. But in doing that, I also ordered some shirts, and they're really cool. They have various geek imagery, including a Starfleet symbol as one of the A's, a Death Star as one of the G's, a Dalek as one of the E's. It's just really, really fun. There's a little reference to Back to the Future on it. I am super proud of these things. Natalie Smith designed them. She's awesome. Thank you, Natalie. Nice. Really, really proud of this design. It's going to be kind of the logo for the band for the foreseeable future. Anyway, ordered some t-shirts with that on it. They're going to be at strandedpanda.com. Click on the store. You can pre-order them right now. And I'm about to order those. So if you want to get a specific size or whatever, let me know. I will be ordering them basically in the morning. So by the time this goes up, I may have already ordered them. But yeah. If you're interested in those shirts, I'll still have a bunch of every size. So order them, pre-order them, whatever you want to do, and we'll get them to you in a few weeks when they come in.
Sweet.
Yeah. Super, super excited about these shirts, man. They're going to look really rad. And they basically, I took a lot of my favorite geekdoms and some ones that I'd written songs about and stuff. And there's a Firefly R that is just, I love the Firefly R. That's one of my favorites of the whole thing. Nice. Really love the Firefly R. It's like an R, but the Firefly is in the little center of the top of the R, of the uppercase R. Yeah, really love it. So if you want to see that, go check it out at StrandedPanda.com, the website for the network that you're listening to.
Nice.
I love you, Dave, and everyone else.
Love you too, buddy.
Terok Nor.
Terok Nor.
I forgot the phrase.
Jolon True?
Live long and prosper. Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or mileage us to .tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.